My grandfather was an Air Force pilot in World War II. He was actually a lieutenant. Now, he passed away 2 years ago at age 100, and the man had a full head of hair until he died. So I'm really hoping that those are the genes that I got. But his generation was different. They went through World War I and then World War II. They saw friends and family members killed left and right. They knew what real struggle was. Like, he was one tough mother. And it's wild looking back because that wasn't that long ago, right? But the world has changed so much to the point right now the average guy is anything but a tough mother. Most of us have evolved or actually devolved into weak boys who are obsessed with social media and so afraid that if a girl tells us no, that they're not interested, that it's gonna ruin our life. And that's why today I want to break down some important lessons that I learned from my grandfather and his generation of what true masculinity is. Number one, don't tell me about that. So something I remember very clearly about my grandfather is whenever someone was gossiping about someone else, talking shit about one of the other cousins or aunts or uncles, he would always say, "Don't tell me about that," or "I don't know anything about that." And basically, he was shutting down the conversation. He was saying, we're not gonna waste our time talking shit about someone else. He was more concerned with his own lane, with his own circle of control. The man was an engineer working for General Motors. He had 5 children, 25 grandchildren, and he had a house that he wanted to take care of. He literally didn't have time to worry about pointless shit, and that's why he always set this strong boundary. Don't tell me about that. And it's like today we live in this validation empire where we're afraid to post something on social media because maybe the girl we're talking to will look at us as less attractive. Or we're afraid to tell our friends that we're working on our dating life because they're gonna think that I'm a loser. Not Papa though. That's what I called him, Papa. Papa was hard-headed. He didn't give a fuck about anything other than his family, his career, and what was going on in front of him. If that man was alive today and he saw me scrolling through my Instagram feed, he would be sick to his stomach thinking about how men have become boys who are more worried about getting validation than actually building up their life. So next time you get caught worrying what someone else is thinking about you or talking shit about someone else, tell yourself and tell the other person too. Don't tell me anything about that. Number 2, let it hang. So growing up, I lived in Boston. My grandparents lived in North Carolina, and we'd spend a lot of time there. And in their house, they had a basement that was unfinished except for one little room, and that's where me and my brother stayed. Now, my cousins Matt and Josh, who y'all have seen in the videos, they would also come over very often, and the 4 of us would be in that room playing video games on this little 13-inch TV. And from time to time, Papa would come down and check in on us, mainly because there was an air conditioning unit in the window that tended to break, and he was worried he was gonna have to fix it again. But this one time, he came into the room, we all looked over. He had just taken a shower, the towel was slung over his shoulder, and he was leaning on the wall like this, completely naked, package hanging, swinging in the air between his legs, and he said, "Boys, how's that air conditioning working?" And to us, we were 10, 15 years old. It was the funniest shit we'd ever seen. We still laugh about this to this day. But there's also an important masculine lesson here. Because look, there was no girl cousins around. It was just men. It was almost like the locker room vibe, and he didn't give a fuck who saw his body. And there's just such a stark contrast between strong men like this and between the soft men of today, who a lot of us were so worried about our appearance that we're looking in the mirror, obsessing over how we look. I used to be obsessed about how my nose looked. I would always look at it, stare at it in the mirror, wishing that if I looked at it longer, it wouldn't be as big or as crooked. Or I see all these guys who are insecure about their body. They literally won't take their shirt off in public. And of course, there's very tangible benefits to leveling up your body and your style. It's gonna make you more attractive to women. It's gonna make other men respect you more. But in the meantime, while you're working on it, even if you're not at where you wanna be, own your shit like Papa. This is what I look like, and I'm not that concerned about how you feel about it. I got more important things to worry about, like the air conditioning unit. Number 3, it's only cosmetic. So I remember one time when Papa had to replace a light in the ceiling because it was all jacked up. So we cut out that piece of drywall, fixed the wiring, put in a new piece of drywall, spackled it, and painted it. But maybe he didn't perfectly sand it down. So his wife, my grandmother, Van, she said, "Gene, you gotta make this look better. You can still tell that that's a different piece of ceiling up there." And Gene, my grandfather, they had very old people names, Eugene and Vangelier. Papa said, "It's only cosmetic. Don't worry about that." For him, it was function above all else. If it worked, who gave a fuck about anything else? He was only focused on the most important substance of things. And this has had a very profound impact on how I approach life. For example, as many of y'all know, I manage multiple businesses. We have Edge Lifestyle, Gains Club, the Beastly app, the Beast Coaching Program, this YouTube channel. And the only way that I've been able to keep increasing the revenue for each of these businesses year over year is by thinking like Papa. I see a lot of failed business owners out here obsessing over things that they're just cosmetic. They don't fucking matter. Like with Edge, we had this big influencer program we built out, and it gave us good content, and it made me feel good that we had our own Edge influencers. But at the end of the day, they weren't really driving that much revenue to the business. So last year, we decided to cut that shit. We no longer try and get new influencers. And guess what? The revenue kept growing because it allowed us to put more focus on our paid advertising and our organic advertising and just making better products versus a lot of other businesses I see who get obsessed with these cosmetic things like their influencer program, but they don't actually grow and make more money. The point is, Papa taught me to focus ruthlessly on what matters the most and fuck all the other noise. Now, real quick, if right now you're focused on making more money, maybe you want to change careers, get a higher paying job, then I want to let you know about Course Careers, who I recently partnered with. So Course Careers is basically an online platform that enables you to quickly learn the most high leverage, in-demand skills so you can land a higher paying job. Like Papa said, focus ruthlessly on what matters the most. Learning a high leverage skill is a great example of that. Personally, I'd recommend their technology sales course that should allow you to quickly land a job in the 60 to 80K starting salary range. Anyway, if you want to learn more, I'm going to drop a link, first link in description. You can see a bunch of testimonials of people who've had success with Course Careers. And also, if you go through that link, you can get started for free and also get $50 off the full course. First link in description, check it out. Number 4, tough love. So when we would show up to North Carolina from Boston, it's not like I was just going on vacation and hanging out at my grandparents' house. No, as soon as I got there, Papa would tell me what my chores and my responsibilities were going to be for the week. He'd put me right to work. One thing he'd have me do in the summers, in those sweaty North Carolina summers, is he'd have me go through the garden and pick the tomatoes that were ripe. So I'd go out there and I'd be trying to get this shit done as fast as possible so I could get back into the air conditioning and start playing some Halo or something. But what would happen is, as I was rushing through it, Papa would come out and he would yell at me. He would put me on my place. You're not doing it right. You need to do it like this. Stop being lazy and trying to rush this. And on one hand, it was a little ruthless. There was no sugarcoating. But on the other hand, it was coming from a place of love and wanting to teach me how to do things properly. So I never felt angry towards him for this. The issue is that the world has evolved into a safe space where if you're hard on someone, it can seem like you're being prejudiced or mean or racist. And because of that, it's tough to find someone who can be a mentor to you and give you tough love. And oftentimes when we find someone like this, someone who's a step ahead of us, who maybe has already accomplished what we're trying to accomplish, but they give us tough love, it doesn't feel right, and then we don't want their advice. We would rather have someone tell it to us softly. And that's something else I learned from Papa. Always choose the mentor who's gonna give you the tough love and tell you how it is, even if it hurts your feelings a little bit and you don't want to hear it. That's the person that's gonna actually help you get to the next level. Number 5, you will not be Miss America. So this is a story my mom's told me when she was 8 or 9 years old. She was riding on her bicycle down the street. She fell, tore her knee open, this big gash, oozing blood. She still has the scar to today. It's a huge, disgusting scar on her knee. So of course she went running back home crying to Papa. He helped her seal it up, fix it up. But then he also told her, well, it looks like you won't be Miss America. He was being real with her and telling her, look, you're gonna have a big ugly scar on your knee. And that's how it's gonna be. And it's funny because last week, Julia was listening to this podcast and it was about this family who had a baby, and the baby had a very deformed face. But the parents didn't want her to feel ugly, so the parents kept telling the baby, you're so beautiful, you're the most beautiful thing in the world. And of course, it was coming from a good place, but there was an issue because the brother of the dad, when he came over, he would not fall into line and tell the baby that she was pretty and beautiful. And the parents were mad about it. But he told them, look, I'm not just gonna tell her she's beautiful because then she's gonna get out into the real world. Kids are gonna make fun of her at school and she's not gonna be prepared for it. Sure, I'm gonna praise her for being smart and funny and things that are true, but I'm not going to fucking delude her. And that story reminded me of Papa because he would always tell you how it is. And in my life, basketball was my love growing up. That's all I wanted to do, was be a professional basketball player. But at some point, my height capped out at 5 feet and 11 inches, and I had to come to terms with the reality that the NBA is not in my future. It hurt, I didn't want to accept it, but that was the reality. Maybe for you, you're a bit shorter than you'd like to be, or you're balding and you obsess over it and like, I just wish that I was taller because then women would like me, but because I'm short, girls are never gonna like me. Well, guess what, bro? You will never be Miss America. You're never gonna be the tall, handsome dude. That's not in your future. And the sooner you fucking accept that, the sooner you can actually start to move other things forward in your life and stop focusing on the one thing that makes you miserable. No, you won't be Miss America, but maybe you can be really successful and get jacked and inspire people. Number 6, eat all you take. So growing up, whenever we had a big family meal, Thanksgiving, the 4th of July, Christmas, and there'd be 40, 50 of us there, we'd sit down, say our family prayers, and then before everyone went to the buffet in the kitchen to serve themselves, Papa would stand up and say, "Take all you want, but eat what you take." And to this day, I will never, ever leave my plate with a single piece of food on there that hasn't been eaten. Papa shamed me into knowing that if I put it on my plate, that's my responsibility to finish the job and eat it. And maybe it seems silly, but in life, there are certain practices that we do, small things we do, that can have a big impact on our mindset and how we approach life. For example, if you start following this rule and you always eat everything on your plate, well, it's going to train you to understand that whenever I start something in life, it's my job to finish it. And for me, that creates a big sense of pride. If I decide that I'm going to start a new business, I'm not just going to say, "Oh, I'm starting a supplement brand, guys," and then it's going to fizzle out. No, I'm going to fucking finish that. I'm going to finish everything that's on my plate. I'm going to make sure that the work gets put in to make it happen. I see too many guys today who have big dreams and aspirations of changing their life and moving cities and starting their own business, but they're not really fucking prepared to do the work that it's going to take to get there. That shit would not fly in Papa's kitchen. Do what you want to do in life, but if you start something, fucking finish it, bro. Now look, if you're truly serious about improving your life, then it is vital for you to recognize the bad daily habits that are draining you of energy and preventing you from gaining any momentum, which is why I recommend you watch this video next. It's about 5 daily habits of weak submissive men. Click there to watch that now. If you're new to the channel, you can click down there to subscribe because I release 2 new videos every single week and you don't want to miss them. I will talk to you in the next video. Stay beastly.